students to today's class, Wednesday, November 6th. A couple of quick announcements. You will have a test this Monday at my house, so please make sure you're ready for that. Your integrity sheets, remember I've gotten a lot tougher on you. You're welcome to get behind, but you must be 100% caught up by Monday's class if you want credit. So when you walk in the door on Monday, you will not tell me orally. You'll have to give me a sheet of paper with everything written down that you have done, and you'll get credit for those. Everything else you will get zeros for, so please make sure you're totally caught up. If you want the 5 bonus points, you will have attempted every problem on the review sheet, and if you've not done that and you're simply going to sit there and work on the review sheet, I have absolutely no problem with that, but just don't accept the 5 bonus points. Understand that. So just a reminder on that. I've tried to remind you guys of that every day. Now, the reason I did not give you this homework yesterday, I'm not going soft on you guys. I just know how long this homework assignment's going to take. And I know that video, even though it was 35 minutes long yesterday, it was really longer than that by the time you paused the video and wrote down steps and stuff like that. So I really felt like we needed 2 days to really grasp this concept. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. I have not copied the problems down because I wanted to go straight to hold on one second please, straight to drawing a triangle. So with that in mind, let's take a look at number 1. Let me fix my pen. That's not quite how I like it. Let's try that now. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 1. Now, the first thing I'm going to encourage you guys to do is always draw a triangle. Let me fix that also. There we go. And let's go ahead and quickly label the triangle A, B, C. And number 1 tells us angle A is 30 degrees, so I'm going to put a 30 right there. Side B is 12, so I'm going to put a length of 12 there. And then side C is a length of 24. Now, what I've taught you to do is a 4-step process. Number 1, make sure you can solve this. You need at least one known side and 2 other parts, and we have that. We have at least one known side and then 2 other parts. Number 2, you then decide, no, I'm sorry, that's not correct, I apologize. You then want to quickly find a third missing angle if you're able to. In other words, if you know 2 angles, like say this was 50 or something like that, then very quickly find this third missing angle. That's step 2. Obviously we cannot do that. Step 3, we're going to try to use law of sines. We can't. We have no pair here, we have no pair here, and we have no pair here. So we cannot use law of sines. So the next step is to go ahead and use the law of cosine. Now notice we have angle A, so I'm going to go ahead and put the cosine of 30 degrees. Now, remember what I taught you yesterday. If we're using angle A, then over here we'll have side A, which of course is what we're trying to find. So I'm going to go ahead and put an A squared. Now, if there's an A here, remember over here we have B, C, and then B, C. Okay? So let's make some substitutions and let's get going. A squared equals 12 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 parentheses 12, and then for C, 24, and then cosine of 30. There we go. Now, I'm going to grab my calculator, and I'm going to type this whole thing in at once, which is definitely what you need to do. That's what your calculator is there for. So 12 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 parentheses 12 parentheses 24, and then cosine of 30. If you type all that in correctly, you should get something like this: 221.169367. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of a squared, which is a, but if you take the square root of one side, you must take the square root of the other side, and if you do that correctly, you're going to get 14.8717. I'm going to go ahead and round that to 15. So now I come up here, and for side A, I'm going to go ahead and put 15. Okay? And now if you'll look at your steps, I strongly encourage you, after you're done with step 3, if you'll look at step 4, I strongly encourage you to use law of cosine from here on out. Okay? I think it's very important to do. So we've got to either find angle B, right, or angle C, right? That's the only 2 things we're missing. So you choose. It doesn't matter. I'm going to solve for angle B. So I'm going to put cosine of B That's what I'm solving. So if I put cosine of b, that means way over here I've got to put b squared. Now if I put b squared here, then I have to have a c a c. So here we go. B squared would be 12 squared. So 12 squared equals 15 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 times 15 times 24 cosine of b. Now I taught you this yesterday in class. Whenever you're looking for an angle like we are in this problem, be very careful with what you do. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and square 12. That gives me 144. Then what I taught you to do was to square each number. So 15 squared is 225. Go ahead and put a 225 plus, then square the 24. And if you square 24, you will get 576. Now here's what I taught you to do next. I said multiply these three numbers together. Negative 2 times 15 times 24. Negative 2 times 15 times 24. Multiply those together, and you'll get a negative 720 cosine b. Now here's why I taught you to do that. I want you to realize this is all one term. And every year that's where a lot of students make their mistake. They forget this is one term right here. So they try to bring the 720 over and make it positive. No, no, no. Here's a term, then a plus sign. Here's a term, then a minus sign, and here's a term. So we're going to have to bring the 225 over and make it negative, bring the 576 over and make it negative, and if you do all of that correctly, what you will get is negative 657. So now I have negative 657 equals negative 720 cosine b. And now divide both sides by negative 720. Right? Because I want to get cosine b by itself, so I divide by negative 720, divide by negative 720, and if I do that correctly, these cancel out, and I'm left with cosine of b equals 0.9125. 0.9125. Now, you do understand, well, first of all, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that's why this is positive. Secondly, you understand you're looking for an angle, so we hit second cosine and then 0.9125. And if you do that correctly, you'll get 24.14, and I'm just going to call that 24 degrees equals b. 24 degrees equals b. So if I come up here and put 24, now for c I can find that really quickly. 30 plus 24 is 54. So I take 180 and I subtract 54 and I get 126. So angle C has to be 126 degrees. Whenever you know two angles, that third angle is really easy to find. Okay, well, that took about 5 minutes, and now you can see why I was concerned about this homework assignment. I believe there are, let's take a look, 22, there are 12 problems, so this could take up to about an hour, and that's why I was concerned about it. Okay, let's take a look now at number 3. Number 3. Let's go ahead and get our triangle drawn. That's the first thing I would encourage you to do. And I believe they have all of these problems are A's, B's, and C's, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and label this A, B, C. Now let's take a look at number 3. Side A is 12. Side B is 14. And side C is 20. Now, step 1, make sure you can solve this. We have to know at least one side plus two other parts. Well, we know at least one side plus two other parts, so we're good there. Step 2, if you know two angles, quickly find the third angle. We don't know any angle, so forget that. And then step 3, go ahead and use the law of sines. If you can, well, we can't. We don't have a pair here, we don't have a pair here, and we don't have a pair here, so we cannot use the law of sines. So we're going to have to use the law of cosines. Now look, which angle you choose to solve for first is up to you. There's no right or wrong. I'm just choosing A because I feel like it. So I'm going to solve for angle A. Now if I do that, that means way over here I have to have A. Now if I have A here, then I have to have B, C, and then B, C again. So let's make our substitutions. For A, I'm going to put 12. For B, I'm going to put 14. For C, I'm going to put 20. And then negative 2, parentheses 14, and parentheses 20, and then cosine of A. Now, let's see, 12 times 12. 12 times 12 is 144. 14 times 14 is 196. 20 times 20 is 400. And then we're going to multiply these three numbers together. 2 times 20 is 40, and 40 times 14 would be 560. Or you could just say 2 times 14 is 28, and 28 times 20 is 560. Now it is a negative, okay? Negative times a positive is negative times a positive is negative. So negative 560 cosine A, all right? Now, this is one term right here, so we're going to save that for last. Let's go ahead and bring the 196 over and make it negative. Bring the 400 over and make it negative. So if we do that correctly, we would get 144 minus 196 minus 400, and we would get negative 452. So now we have negative 452 equals negative 560 cosine of A. Now remember, next we divide both sides by negative 560 to get rid of this negative 560. So if we divide both sides by negative 560, we should end up with, now the decimal is bigger than this, so I'm going to round. It's going to be 8. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is positive, 0.807142857, but that's sufficient right there. Now we're looking for an angle, so be sure and hit second cosine and then type in that number 0.8071. And if you do that correctly, you will get 36.18. So I'm just going to go ahead and call angle A 36 degrees. 36 degrees. Alright, so I come up here for angle A, and I'm going to put 36 degrees. Now, we're missing two more parts. If you go on to step 4 encourages you to use law of cosines for the rest of the triangle. So, I'm going to go ahead and solve for angle B. You're welcome to solve for angle C if you want to. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to solve for B. So cosine of B, here's my equal sign over here. If I have a B here, then I must have a B squared here. If I have a B here, then I'm going to have an A, and then a C, and then an A, and then a C. So for B, I'm going to substitute 14. For A, fix that real quick. For A, I'm going to substitute 12. For C, I'm going to substitute 20. And then for A, we'll substitute 12. And for C, we'll substitute 20. And then cosine B. And like I've taught you to do real quick, 14 times 14 is 196. 12 times 12 is 144. 20 times 20 is 400. And negative 2 times 12 is negative 24. And negative 24 times 20 is negative 480. So negative 480 cosine B. Now bring the 144 over and make it negative. Bring the 400 over and make it negative. And you end up with negative 348. So negative 348 equals negative 480 cosine B. Divide both sides by negative 480, and you will get 0.725. 0.725 equals cosine B. Now remember, you're looking for an angle, so we're going to hit second cosine. And so let's go ahead and do that. Second cosine of 0.725, and the angle will be 43.5. Now I'm going to go ahead and just make that 44. I'm rounding to all whole numbers. I'm going to go ahead and put 45 degrees, okay? I'm not sure what the back of the book has, but that's sufficient. So now that I know two angles, I can very quickly find the third angle. 45 plus 36 is 81 degrees. So 180 minus 81 would be 99 degrees. So this is 99 degrees right here, okay? So there we go. Moving on to number 5. Let me very quickly get a drink of water here. And we'll continue to move on. Okay, number 5. Okay, there's our triangle. So let's take a look at number 5. Angle B is 72.4. If you, trust me, if you change that to a decimal, it would be 72.66666 repeating. So I'm going to put 72.7. Side C would be 16. this will be like number 1, okay? First of all, step 1, make sure you can solve the triangle. We have at least one side plus 2 other parts, so that's good. Step 2, if we know 2 angles, find the third angle quickly. We don't. Step 3, use law of sines if you can. We have no pair here, we have no pair here, and we have no pair here. So we cannot use the law of sines, so we're going to use the law of cosines. And obviously we know angle B, so since we know angle B, we're going to find side B. Okay? So here we go. Let's come over here and let's put cosine of angle B. And if we're going to use cosine of angle B, then over here on the left we know we're going to have B squared equals A and then C and then A and then C. Alright? Now, B squared, of course, for B, that's what we're solving for, is side B. For A, we're going to put 78, then squared. For C, we're going to put 16 and then squared. And then negative 2 times 78 times 16, and then cosine of angle 72.7. Now you're solving for B, so I would just take this entire right side and type this whole thing into your calculator all at once. That's what your calculator is there for. It will do this for you, and it will save you time. And if you hear the silence, that is exactly what I'm doing right now. And if you do that correctly, I'm getting 5,597.75. I'm going to stop there, 0.752314. Now, I'm going to take the square root of B squared because I want to get B by itself. But if I take the square root of one side, I must take the square root of the other side. And I get 74.8. I'm going to go ahead and round that to 75. So there's side B, 75. So that's pretty good. Now, step 4 says go ahead and use the law of cosines to solve for the rest of the triangle. I strongly recommend that, and there are reasons for that. So we're either going to solve for A or C. I'm going to solve for A because I feel like it, so cosine of A. So I come way over here and I put A squared. So then I would have a B, C, minus 2, and then a B, C. So for A, we'll put 78 squared. For B, 75 squared. For C, we'll put 16, so 16 squared minus 2 times 75 times 16, and then cosine of angle A, and that's what we're solving for. So let's see real quick here. 78 squared would give me 6,084. 75 squared would give me 5,625. And 16 squared would give me 256. And then remember, I multiply these three numbers together to keep this whole last term together. So I have negative 2 times 75 times 16, and that gives me a negative 2,400, and of course cosine A. Now remember, we're going to bring this number over and make it negative, bring this number over and make it negative, okay? That's our next two steps. So 6,084 minus 5,625 minus 256 would give us a positive 203 equals negative 2,400 cosine of A. So now let's divide both sides by 2,400. So 203 divided by negative 2,400. Of course, you get out a negative number, and it's negative 0.084583333 equals cosine of A. Alright, now you're looking for an angle, so next we're going to hit second cosine, and then type in 0.0845, and for angle A, you're going to get 94.85. I'm going to go ahead and put 95 degrees. So angle A equals 95 degrees. So here's A, 95 degrees. Now if we add these two numbers together here very quickly, 95 plus 72.7, I would get 167.7, and of course we're going to have to subtract that from 180. And if we do that correctly, we would get 68, we would get 12.3. So this is 12.3 degrees. So there we go. Moving on, not too bad. 3 down and at number 7. I think drawing a triangle is always extremely helpful, so that's what we're going to do. And we know that side A is 16 for number 7, side B is 20, and side C is 32. So this will be like number 3, okay? This will be like number 3. So here we go. Step 1, make sure you can solve the triangle. We have to know one known side and 2 other parts. We definitely have one known side and 2 other parts, so we're good there. Number 2, if you know 2 angles, find the third one. We don't. Step 3, try to use law of sines. Well, we have no pair here, we have no pair here, and we have no pair here, so we cannot use law of sines. So we have to use law of cosines. Now, I don't care what angle you solve for, I'm going to solve for A. So cosine of A, so if I put an A here, I must put an A over here. And then it equals B, and then a C, negative 2, then B, and then C. So here we go. A squared, that would be 16. For B, I'm going to put 20. For C, I'm going to put 32. And then negative 2 times 20 times 32. And then cosine A. And of course, this is all one term here, so please don't forget that. All right? Well, here we go. 16 squared is going to be 256. 20 squared is going to be 400. 32 squared is going to be 1024. And then if we multiply negative 2 times 20 times 32, we're going to get negative 1280. And of course, cosine A. Now this is all one term, so they stay together, but these other 2 terms, I'm going to bring them over and make them negative. So I have 256 minus 400 minus 1024. And if I've typed that in correctly, I'm getting a negative 1168 equals negative 1280 cosine A. Now next, you want to divide both sides by negative 1280. And if you do that correctly, you will get a positive, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. You get 0.9125 equals cosine A. Now we're looking for an angle, so let's hit second cosine, and then 0.9125. And if we type that in correctly, for angle A for number 7, we will get 24.14. So I'm just going to say 24 degrees for angle A. Now let's find one other angle, and then we can find the third angle just by adding and subtracting from 180. So let's go ahead and find angle B. You're welcome to find angle C if you want to. Okay, cosine of B. So I'm going to come over here and put a B squared on this side. And then I have an A, and then a C, and then an A, and then a C. So here we go. For B, I'm going to go ahead and put 20. For A, I'm going to go ahead and put 16. For C, I'm going to go ahead and put 32. And then minus 2 for A, I'm going to put 16. And for C, I'm going to put 32. And then cosine of angle B. So I'm trying to find angle B. Well, 20 times 20, of course, is 400. 16 times 16 is 256. 32 times 32 is 1024. And then we have negative 2 times 16 times 32. And if you type that in correctly, you'll get negative 1024 cosine of B. Now, this is all one term, so they have to stay together. However, I can bring this number over, make it negative, bring this number over, make it negative. So 400 minus 256 minus 1024 is going to give me a negative 880. So negative 880 equals a negative 1024 cosine of B. Now let's divide both sides by negative 1024. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get 0.859375. I'm going to stop at the 3. And then please notice you're looking for an angle, angle B, so you must use second cosine of 0.8593, and you will get 30.7. So I'm going to go ahead and put 31 degrees for B, for number 7, 31 degrees. Now, if you add 31 plus 24, you will get 55 degrees. And so if you subtract that from 180, you will get 125 degrees for angle C. Now, I know angle C doesn't look like 180 and 25 degrees, and I really don't care if my triangle is drawn to scale. That's not a big deal to me, okay? So that's totally sufficient. Let's go ahead and take a stab now at number 9, all right? Number 9. Let's go ahead and get our triangle drawn. And let's list out what we have. A is 2 feet, B is 3 feet, and C is 8 feet. All right? Now, it does not matter which, well, first of all, step 1, can we solve this triangle? Well, we know at least one side plus 2 other parts, so we're fine. Number 2, if you know 2 angles, quickly find the third angle, and we don't, so we can't. Try to use law of sines, but look, we have no pairs. We have no pairs, so we cannot use law of sines. So we're going to have to use law of cosines. Now, I don't care what angle you solve for. We're going to do cosine of A. So over here is my equal sign. We'll put an A squared. If there's an A here, an A here, then I must have a B, and then a C, and then a B, and then a C. Now, for A, I'm going to put 2. For B, I'm going to put 3. For C, I'm going to put 8. And then minus 2 times 3 times 8 cosine of A. Now remember, this is all one term right here. All of those have to stay together. Okay, did not mean to do that. And there we go. Now, 2 times 2 would be 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 times 8 is 64. And then 2 times 3 times 8 would be negative 48 cosine of A. And now let's bring the 9 over and make it negative. Bring the 64 over and make it negative. So we have 4 minus 9 minus 64. We're going to get negative 69. So negative 69 equals negative 48 cosine of A. Let's divide both sides by negative 48. If you do that correctly, you will get a positive 1.4375 equals cosine of A. We divided both sides by negative 48. Now, we're looking for an angle, so hit second cosine. And you're left with, oh, an error, it does not work. So what that means is angle A does not exist. Now, if angle A does not exist, then the whole triangle cannot exist. So in this situation here, we have no solution, which does happen sometimes. It means a triangle is impossible to have with sides measuring 2, 3, and 8. 2, 3, and 8. All right, hold on one second, please. Okay, let's continue on. By the way, very quickly, I can show you why it's impossible to have a triangle with sides 2, 3, and 8. Pretend if you had an 8 here, and then a 2 and a 3 here. I know the triangle is not drawn to scale, but think about it. If you took this line and dropped it down on here, it would have a length of 2. And then if I took this line here and dropped it down, it had a length of 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. These two sides here could never touch. And that's not the best explanation. You don't need to know that. I'm just trying to show you why it was common sense to me that you could not do, or you could not solve whatever number that was, number 9. Okay, let's go on now to number 11. Let's take a look at number 11. All right, we have triangle A, B, C, like we always have. A is 26.12, that's the side. Side B is 21.34. I hate these decimals, they really make the problem annoying. And C is 19.25. 19.25. Alright, now step 1. What we do is we make sure that we can solve this triangle. And so we have at least one side plus 2 other parts, so we can definitely solve it. Number 2, if you know 2 angles, find the third angle quickly. We don't. And then number 3, try to use law of sines. We don't have a pair here. We don't have a pair here. We don't have a pair here. So we cannot use law of sines. So we're going to have to use law of cosines. So I'm going to solve for angle A first, no certain reason. So cosine of A, if I have an A here, then I must put an A over here. If I have an A here, then I must have a B, and then a C, and then a B, and then a C. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, for A, I'm going to go ahead and substitute 26.12. For B, I'm going to substitute 21.34. Did I mention already I don't like these decimals? I think I did. I don't like these decimals. 19.25 squared minus 2 times 21.34 times 19.25, and then cosine of A. Wow, what a mess. All right, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and do 26.12 squared is, and I'm sorry, a little bit of attitude here on my part. This is really dumb to have decimals like this, in my opinion. It does nothing but just complicate the problem, but 682.2544 equals, and then we have 21.34 squared, and that's going to be 455.3956 plus, and now 19.25 quantity squared would be 370.5625. And then we multiply these three numbers together, so negative 2 times 21.34 times 19.25, and we would get negative 821.59 cosine A. All right. Now remember, of course, this is one term here, so all those stay together. So we're going to bring this term over, make it negative. Bring this term over, and make it negative. So we're going to have 682.2544 minus 455.3956 minus 370.5625. And if I've done that correctly, and I hope that I have, we're going to go ahead and we have a negative 143.7037 equals negative 821.59 cosine of A. And now we're going to divide both sides by this number right here, negative 821. So divided by negative 821.59. And if I've done that correctly, let me see what I did wrong here. I'm going to get positive 0.1749092613 equals cosine of A. And we're looking for angle A, so we're going to hit second cosine, second answer, and we should get 79.9, which is 80 degrees for angle A. 80 degrees. Now, let me pause and look at the rest of the problems here. 13 does the exact same thing, and I'm not quite sure why they're doing this, guys. I'm not trying to be lazy at all. I just feel like right now my job is to teach you math, not to have you. I'm not going to find this last angle here. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is, but really, guys, and again, I'll tell you what I could do. I guess I could do this very quickly for you, and if you just want to watch, you can. I'm going to go ahead and try something here that's pretty unique. Let's see if we can do this. This might be pretty cool. Maybe we'll do this from now on. Let's go ahead and solve for angle B. So watch what I do here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put a B here. So if there's a B there, then I must have a B over here. And so if that's the case, then I'm going to have an A right here, A squared. And that means I'll have an A right here, AC. So AC. Now the reason I did this is I'm trying to think here. I don't know why in the world I could not. Hold on 1 second here. Yeah, I think I've already deleted everything I didn't want to delete. What I was thinking about doing was leaving these numbers up right here. If you watch carefully, watch what I'm thinking here, because this will really save us a lot of time. I was thinking about leaving these big decimals up right here and just moving them around. For example, if this is now a B, and this is now an A, and this is an A right here, and this would be B, then I know for sure that all that I would have to do is simply take, let's see, this was, I could move these numbers around. This was a squared, so a squared would come over here, and this was b squared right here, so b squared would come right here, and then this would be a squared, and then this would still be c squared here. But then we'd also have this number here we'd have to change. So I'll tell you what, with these really long decimals, I'm not going to worry about finding angle b. You know, we've done like 3 of these already, and I feel like these long decimals are really, I'm kind of disappointed in their choice there of doing that. So if you did this correctly here with your calculator, you will get 54 degrees. Trust me, that's right. And if you add these two together, you get 134. So if I subtract that from 180, I would get 46 degrees. So angle C is 46 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number 13 and see, hold on one second here, if we can figure out number 13. Let's go ahead and get our triangle up here. Here we go. And we're going to call it triangle A, B, and C. Now, let's see. We know A is 60.12, and I know they're throwing decimals at us again, but maybe we just won't do the entire thing. B is 40.23, 40.23, and then angle C is 48.7. Now let's go through our steps very quickly. Step 1, make sure you can solve this triangle. You need to know at least one side and 2 other parts. And I do know one side plus 2 other parts. Step 2, if you know 2 angles, quickly find the third angle. We do not know 2 angles. Move on to step 3. We'd like to use law of sines if possible. Well, we do not have a pair here, we do not have a pair here, and we do not have a pair here. So we cannot use law of sines. So we go ahead and use law of cosines to try to solve this triangle. Now, since I know angle C right here, I'm going to go ahead and try to find side C. So, if I'm going to try to find side C, if I have C squared right here, then right here I would have A, and then B, and then AB, and then cosine, and if this is side C, over here I have angle C. Okay, side C is what we're looking for, so we'll leave that C squared. A would be 60.12 squared. B would be 40.23 squared. And then minus 2 times 60.12 times 40.23 cosine of C, which is 48.7. So now, really, students, I can type this entire right side into my calculator, and of course be very careful when you do that. Make sure you type the numbers in correctly. So 60.12 squared plus 40.23 squared minus 2 times 60.12 times 40.23, and then cosine of 48.7. And if I've done all this correctly, I'm left with 2040.2708. And now take the square root of both sides. The square root of C squared is C, and the square root of 2040.2708 is 45.16. I'm just going to go ahead and put 45 for side C. So side C is 45. Side C is 45. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and find one more angle just very quickly, I guess, just to try to finish this problem. And then we can find the third angle by simply adding the 2 known angles together and dividing by and subtracting from 180. So let's go ahead and find angle B. You could try to find angle A if you wanted to. I'm just choosing not to. So over here I have B squared. If I have B here, I have an A, and then a C, and then an AC. So B squared would be 40.23 squared. A would be 60.12 squared. C would be 45 squared, and then minus 2 times 60.12 times 45 cosine of B. And that's what we're looking for right there, is angle B. All right? Alright, so let's go ahead and square 40.23. If you do that correctly, you will get 1,618.4529. If you square 60.12, you will get 3,614.4144. And if you square 45, you're going to get 2,025, so plus 2,025. And then we're going to multiply these three numbers together. So negative 2 times 60.12 times 45, and that would give us negative 5,410.8 cosine of b. Remember, this is all one term right here, okay? So we're going to leave that together. We're going to bring this number over, make it negative, bring this number over, make it negative. So this is going to be a little bit of a pain, but 1618.4529, and then minus 3614.4144, and then minus 2,025. And if we do that correctly, we're going to get negative 4,020.9615 equals negative 5,410.8 cosine of b. Now let's divide both sides by 5,000, negative 5,410. And you get a positive 0.7432461183. Remember, we're looking for an angle, so we're going to hit second cosine, and we're going to get 41.99. So it's going to be 42 degrees for angle B. All right? Let me check my book and make sure that's right. And yes, that is correct. And now that we know these two angles, we're going to add them together very quickly. 42 plus 48.7, and you get 90.7, and then subtract 90.7 from 180, and if you do that correctly, you will get 89.3 for angle A. 89.3. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at number 15. Number 15. Here's the triangle, triangle ABC, and for number 15 we have B is 10.2, C is, I'm going to go ahead, I'm strongly considering rounding these because I really want you guys focusing on the math part. So I'm going to say side B is 10, side C is 17, and side A is 50, excuse me, that's angle A. So we're going to say angle A is 53 degrees. All right? Caleb? Now, the first thing you're supposed to do is you need to look and make sure you can solve the triangle, okay? By the way, if you just heard me say Caleb right there, Caleb Banks, I was not talking to you, I was talking to my son, so just so you know. But when you look at this triangle, you must make sure you can solve it. You have to know at least one side and two other parts, and we do know one side and two other parts. Step 2, if you know two angles, find the third angle quickly. We don't. And then step 3, try to use law of sines if you can. Well, we have no pair here, no pair here, and no pair here, so we cannot use the law of sines. So we are going to have to use the law of cosines. Well, we know this angle here, angle A. So if I know angle A, I'm going to try to find side A over here. So I'm going to say side A. And if I have an A here, I have a B, and then a C, and then a BC, and then cosine of 53 degrees. All right, A is what I'm solving for, so A squared. B would be 10, C would be 17, and then negative 2, 10, 17, and then cosine of 53. Cosine of 53. Now, I can type this whole right side into my grapher very quickly. So I have 10 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 10 times 17, and then cosine of 53. And if I do that correctly, I'm going to get A squared equals 184.382 28921. I'm going to take the square root of a squared, that gives me a. Take the square root of the right side. If I take the square root of one side, I've got to take the square root of the other side. And I'm getting 13.57. I'm going to go ahead and make that 14. I should be approximately correct on that. Yes, we're going to get 14. So A is 14. And now you choose, students. We could solve for angle B or angle C. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to solve for angle B. And so I'm going to put cosine of B, and then come over here and put an equal sign. If I have a B over here, I've got to have a B here. And if I have a B right here, I'm going to have an A, and then a C, and then an A and a C. So for B squared, I'm going to put 10. For A, I'm going to put 14. For C, I'm going to put 17. And then negative 2 times 14 times 17 cosine B. And that's what we're solving for right there, is angle B. Now, let's see. 10 times 10 is 100. 14 times 14 is 196. 17 times 17 is 289. And then, remember, this is all one term, so I'm going to keep them together. If I multiply negative 2 times 14 times 7 times 17, I will get negative 476. So negative 476 cosine of B. Now remember, this is one term right here, so keep them all together. But I'm going to bring the 196 over and make it negative, and I'm going to bring the 289 over and make it negative, and you end up with negative 385 equals negative 476 cosine of B. Now we're going to divide both sides by negative 476, and if you do that correctly, you're going to get a positive 0.8088235294. And we are looking for an angle, so we're going to hit second cosine and then that number 0.8088. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get 36.01 degrees. So angle B is 36 degrees. And now if we add these two together, we'll get 89 degrees. So we're going to subtract that from 180, and we should get 91 degrees for angle C if we do that correctly, okay? Just 4 more problems and we're finished. Let's take a look at number 17. Number 17. Alright, here we go. Now 17, 19, 21, 23 will be a little more of a challenge because I think we're going to start throwing the law of sines in here a little bit. This will be good for you. Okay, angle A is 70, angle B is 12, and angle and side B is 21.4. Alright, are you ready, students? Here we go. First of all, remember, we make sure we can solve the triangle. We have to know at least one side and 2 other parts, and we have that. We know one side plus 2 other parts. Number 2, we've said if we know 2 angles, quickly find the third angle. Well, 70 plus 12 would be 82. So 180 minus 82 would be 98 degrees. So we did that quickly. And now step 3 says if you can use law of sines, try that first. And we do know the law of sines. And we have a pair right here. Here's our pair. Angle B goes with side B. So I know for law of sines, I can put 21.4 over sine of 12 degrees equals, now it really doesn't matter if we solve for side A or C. I'm going to solve for side A. So I'm going to put side A over, and of course side A goes with angle A. So it'd be sine of 70 degrees. Now what I've taught you to do is cross multiply and divide. So A would equal 21.4 sine of 70 over sine of 12. Now make sure you know how to type that into your calculator correctly. I'm doing that right now myself to make sure I've got this right. And so we have 21.4 sine of 70, then hit enter, and then divided by sine of 12, enter. And you should get 96.72. I'm going to go ahead and call it 97. So side A should be 97. Let's go ahead and put a 97 here. Now, what I've situation is, it's probably best, after you've done this one step in step 3, right, we go on to step 4, I've told you it's probably best to go ahead and use law of cosines. That way it's just, you don't have to worry about two solution problems or no solution. Law of cosine does take care of that for you. So let's go ahead and use law of cosine to find our last part, side C. Now if we're looking for side C, then that means right here I must have A and then B and then AB. And then of course if I have a C over here, then it's cosine of angle C. So let's see, this is what I'm looking for, C squared, and then A would be 97 squared, B would be 21.4 squared, minus 2 times A, which is 97, times B, which is 21.4, and then cosine of C, which is cosine of 98 degrees. Now look students, we can type this entire right side into our calculator. So I'm going to do that very quickly. I'm going to type in 97 squared plus 21.4 squared minus 2 times 97 times 21.4 cosine of 98 degrees. And if we do all that correctly, we're going to come up with this right here, or at least I'm coming up with 10,444.75105. Now, I'm going to take the square root of C squared because I want to have just C. But if you take the square root of one side, you must take the square root of the other side. And if you do that correctly, I'm coming up with 102.1. So I'm going to go ahead and call that just 102. Let me check the answers here. Yes, that is correct. And so C right here would be 102. Very good. 3 left and we're finally done. I told you guys it would take a while, and that's why I chose to do this assignment in 2 different days. Okay, let's take a look at number 19. Number 19. Let's draw our triangle. We'll label it ABC. And let's see what we have for number 19. A is 3.3. B is 2.7. And C is 2.8. Now, step 1, make sure you can solve the triangle. We have to know at least one side plus 2 other parts. We have that. Step 2, if you know at least 2 angles, quickly find the third angle. We cannot do that. Step number 3, use law of sines if you can. We do not have a pair there, or there, or there, so we cannot use the law of sines. So we have to use the law of cosines. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for angle A first. Really no reason, except I'm just going to do that. So cosine of A, so over here I would have A squared. If I have an A over here, then here I've got a B, C, and then minus 2BC. So for A, I'm going to substitute 3.3 squared. For B, it's going to be 2.7 squared. For C, it's going to be 2.8 squared. And then negative 2 times 2.7, which is B, times 2.8, which is C, and then cosine of A. And this is what we're solving for here is A. All right, well, let's go ahead and do some simplifying. 3.3 squared is going to be 10.89. And then 2.7 squared would be 7.29. 2.8 squared is going to be 7.84. And then remember, this is all one term right here, so they're going to stay together. We're just going to multiply and simplify. So I have 2 times 2.7 times 2.8. And it's a negative 2, don't forget. So you end up with a negative 15.12 cosine of A. Now this is still all one term right here. And so we're going to bring the 7.29 over and the 7.84 over and make them negative. So 10.89 minus 7.29 minus 7.84. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get negative 4.24. Negative 4.24 equals cosine of, does not equal cosine of A, equals negative 15.12 cosine of A. And now we're going to divide both sides by negative 15.12. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get 0.2804 equals cosine cosine of A. And now we are looking for an angle, so we're going to hit second cosine and then 0.2804. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get 73.7. So I'm going to go ahead and put 74 degrees for angle A. So angle A is 74 degrees. All right? Now let's see what we got here. Now next we could solve for angle B or C. Totally up to you. I'm going to solve for cosine of B. So cosine of B, side B over here. So I would have A squared, AC minus 2AC. So very quickly, 2.7 squared. And I'm going to go ahead and save a little bit of time. We've done a whole truckload of these, so I'm going to save some time. 2.7 squared. I'm going to go ahead and put what that would be. 2.7 squared would be 7.29. Let's go ahead and do A squared. That would be 3.3 squared, and you would get 10.89. Save us some steps here. Plus C squared would be 2.8 squared, and that's going to be 7.84. And then I'm going to have negative 2 times A times C. So that's negative 2 times 3.3 times 2.8, and we would get negative 18.48 cosine of B. All right. Now, remember this was all one term right here, so they stay together. We're going to bring the 10.89 over the 7.84, so 7.29 minus 10.89 minus 7.84 equals negative 11.44, and that would equal negative 18.48 cosine of B. Now divide both sides by negative 18.48, and you'll get 0.619. So 0.619047,619 equals cosine of B. Now we're looking for an angle, so hit second cosine and then 0.6190, and you should get 51.7, so about 52 degrees for angle B. Let me check and make sure that's right. And yes, that is correct. Add these two together and you get 126. Subtract that from 180 and you will get 54 degrees for angle C. Okay, number 21, then number 23, and we're finally finished. All right, number 21 is going to go pretty fast, I believe. I think we're going to get no solution on this one. A, B, C. Let's find out. We have A is 40.2 degrees for number 21. Angle B is 39.8. And then number 20, or letter C, is 100 degrees. Okay, yes, obviously no solution. Step 1 fails right off the bat. Remember, step 1 says make sure you can solve the triangle. You must know at least the length of one side and two other parts. Well, we don't know the length of this side, we don't know the length of this side, and we don't know the length of this side. And so we cannot solve that triangle. Do you know why? There could be a triangle this big, and this angle could still be 40.2, and this angle would still be 39.8, and this angle would still be 100. But the sides, look how much bigger the sides are. So you really can never find the sides of this triangle, because the sides of this triangle, when you know three angles, these three sides could be any three sides. They could change. And so remember, step 1 says you have to know at least one side and two other parts. And do we know at least one side? No, we do not. So right away we have to write cannot be solved. All right. And then lastly, number 23. So it's been about an hour, like I told you guys it would be. And let's finish this up and we're finally done. All right, number 23. They're going to give us three sides. And you know, I really respect the book. It's a very good textbook, but I am going to round these decimals to whole numbers, so we're focusing more on the actual math part and not on other stuff. So 3.6, I'm going to call that 4. 6.2, I'm going to call that 6. And C, 4.1, I'm going to call that 4. And here we go. Do we know at least one side and two other parts? Yes, we do. Number two, do we know two angles so we can quickly find the third angle? No, we do not. And number three, can we use law of sines? Well, I do not have a pair here, I do not have a pair here, and I do not have a pair here. So I cannot use law of sines. So I'm going to have to use law of cosines. For no certain reason, I'm going to choose to find angle A first. So cosine of A over here, I'm going to put A squared. If I have an A here, then I've got a B, and then a C, and then minus 2BC. So for A, I'm going to put 4, and actually we're going to skip some steps here. If I put a 4 in for A, 4 times 4 is 16. If I put a 6 in for B, 6 times 6 is 36. If I put a 4 in for C, 4 times 4 is 16. And then I have negative 2 times B times C. So negative 2 times 6 times 4. Well, negative 2 times 6 times 4, negative 2 times 6 would be negative 12, times 4 would be negative 48. All right? And then cosine of A. All right? So we are solving for angle A. This is one term. They all stay together right here. So I'm going to bring the 36 over and the 16 over. If you do that correctly, you'll get negative 36 equals negative 48 cosine of A. And now divide both sides by negative 48. So we have negative 36 divided by negative 48, and you'll get a positive 0.75 equals cosine of A. Now we are looking for an angle, so we get second cosine of 0.75, and you will get 41.4. So I'm going to go ahead and call that 41 degrees for angle A. Let me check my answers here and see if we're close to that for number 23. Yep, we're decently close enough because we did round our numbers at the beginning, so that's fine. And now let's take a look at one more angle. I guess we'll solve angle B. So let's go ahead and find angle B. So cosine of B, over here we'll put B squared equals A, and then a C, and then AC. So for B squared, I'm going to put 36. For A squared, I'm going to put 16. For C squared, I'm going to put 16. And then we have minus 2 times A times C. So minus 2 times 4 times 4. So minus 2 times 4 is negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Cosine of B. Again, negative 32 came from negative 2 times 4, which is A, times 4, which is C. Now, we are solving for angle B. So we're going to bring the 16 over and the 16 over, and if we do that correctly, we're going to end up with positive 4 equals negative 32 cosine of angle B. All right? Now, divide both sides by negative 32. So 4 divided by negative 32, we're going to get a negative 0.125, so negative 0.125 equals cosine of B. And now we are looking for an angle, so we are going to hit second cosine and then that number, negative 0.125. And if you do that correctly, you're going to get 97.1 degrees, or in other words, 97 degrees. Check my answer again. Yep, that's close enough. And so now we add these two together, and to find angle C, we add these two angles together, we get 138. We're going to subtract that from 180, and we should get 42 degrees. 42 degrees. So students, we should know very well now how to solve or use the law of sines and the law of cosines, okay? So I hope this has been a help to you. Call or email if you have any questions.